What if I told you that Earth is not your home, but your prison? Not in the way you've been taught to imagine, not with bars of steel or walls of concrete, but with invisible chains forged from illusion, distraction, and amnesia. Chains so subtle, so perfectly crafted, that we mistaken them for freedom. You wake up, you eat, you work, you sleep, and you repeat endlessly. But have you ever stopped to ask, why? Why does it feel like something is deeply wrong, even when everything seems normal? Why do so many ancient traditions, from the Gnostics to the Hermeticists, whisper the same cryptic message, that this world is a trap and your soul is the bait? Today, we're going to peel back the veil. This is not just another conspiracy video. This is a journey into the heart of existence, into the secrets buried beneath every breath you take, every thought you think, and every rule you blindly follow. We're going to explore the unsettling possibility that Earth is not what it appears to be, that what we call life is actually a system, engineered, maintained, and perfected to extract the energy of your soul. Yes, your soul, not your labor, not your money, but the very essence of your being. And as outrageous as that may sound, the proof has always been in plain sight, hidden in myths, encoded in sacred texts, embedded in the rhythms of your daily life. You just have to know where to look and how to see. In this video, we will explore the origins of this idea and why so many esoteric traditions warn us about this hidden mechanism. We'll journey through ancient texts, spiritual teachings, and modern metaphysical insights. We'll dissect the machinery of soul entrapment, from birth to death, from karma to reincarnation, and most importantly, we'll uncover the tools to break free. Because freedom is not found by escaping the earth. It's found by awakening within it. Ready to remember what the system wants you to forget? Then let's begin. Long before modern science declared the earth a spinning rock in an infinite void, ancient civilizations spoke of it differently. Not as a home, but as a testing ground, a labyrinth, a prison of initiation. And while their languages, symbols, and stories varied, the message remained eerily consistent. Earth is not what it seems. Let us begin with the Gnostics, those mysterious early mystics whose scriptures were buried for centuries in the sands of Nag Hammadi. They believed the physical world was created not by a benevolent God, but by a false, ignorant deity they called a demiurge, a craftsman god who forged a material realm as a snare. The demiurge, they said, was not divine but deluded, a cosmic architect who mistook himself for the source. His domain? This world. His purpose? To keep divine sparks, souls, trapped in a web of illusion, chained by matter, time, and suffering. The Gnostics were not alone. In Hindu philosophy, particularly the teachings of Advaita Vedanta and certain tantric schools, Maya, or illusion, is a veil that cloaks the soul from truth. The world is described not as ultimately real, but as a dream, a projection, a test. The soul forgets its origin in pure consciousness and becomes entangled in the karmic cycles of birth, desire, and death, samsara. The goal? Liberation, moksha, from the wheel of reincarnation. Meanwhile, in Plato's allegory of the cave, we find the West's clearest philosophical echo of this idea. Plato described humans as prisoners chained in a dark cave, watching shadows dance on a wall, mistaking those shadows for reality. The true world, he said, lies outside the cave, but few ever escape, and fewer still believe the escaped ones when they return to tell the truth. Even in Christian mysticism, we see a pattern emerge. The early desert fathers and mystic saints spoke not of salvation through earthly pleasure, but of transcendence through inner purification. This world was seen not as an end, but a battleground for the soul, with unseen forces warring over the fate of each individual. Then there are the Egyptians, whose entire cosmology revolved around the soul's journey after death. They meticulously mapped the underworld, the Duat, filled with challenges and gatekeepers. Their Book of the Dead was not a collection of funerary rites. It was a manual for soul navigation, because the soul, they believed, could get lost. Fast forward to today, and we find this ancient pattern mirrored in more modern teachings, from Theosophy to the Law of One, from Rudolf Steiner's Anthroposophy to the writings of modern mystics and near-death experiencers. The world, they say, is a school, but also a harvest field, a place where energies are fed upon, where consciousness is recycled, and where forgetting is the first step in the trap. So what do all these traditions have in common? They teach that the earth is not neutral. That life as we know it is structured, not merely by biology or physics, but by design. A spiritual architecture built to keep you asleep, distracted, and feeding something greater than yourself. But who or what designed the structure? And how exactly does it work? That's what we'll begin to uncover in the next section as we step beyond history and into the mechanics of the soul harvest itself. To understand how Earth harvests the soul, we must first understand the structure of the trap and the brilliance of its design. Imagine a farm, a beautiful, lush field where animals are allowed to roam. They're given food, shelter, and even moments of joy. But the animals are not there for leisure. They are resources, raised not for freedom, but for a purpose that serves a system far beyond their understanding. Now imagine that the animals were aware enough to suffer, to love, to dream, but not aware enough to see the boundaries of their enclosure. That is Earth, a soul farm, a metaphysical matrix, a perfectly designed simulation where your energy, not your body, is a true harvest. But how? The mechanism begins with birth, or more accurately, with forgetting. Each time you are born, you pass through what many traditions call the veil of amnesia. You forget where you came from. You forget who you are. You forget the missions, lessons, and wounds of past incarnations. You enter this world with eyes wide open, but spirit shut down, vulnerable, impressionable, and most importantly, programmable. From the moment of arrival, the system wraps around you. Names, identities, labels, beliefs, fears. You're taught to seek success, love, approval, and purpose, but always externally. The soul's inner compass is overridden by societal conditioning. You are told, this is what matters, this is who you are, this is what's real. And just like that, the harvest begins. Because the harvest isn't a one-time event. It's not about death, it's about distraction. Every moment you're consumed by fear, anger, jealousy, guilt, or shame, your energy is extracted, your soul light dims. Every moment you chase status, lust, or power without awareness, your soul forgets its source. Ancient mystics called this the lush, a term later made popular by Robert Monroe, the famed out-of-body explorer. Lush is emotional energy, especially of a high-charged nature. Fear, ecstasy, rage, grief, and it's harvested by entities or systems beyond this dimension. Whether you believe in literal beings or metaphorical forces, the mechanism is the same, energy in exchange for illusion. Earth, then, is not simply a planet. It is a closed loop of energetic recycling. You live, suffer, and die, and just as you begin to awaken, you are pulled back in. Reincarnation is not liberation by default. It is repetition, and repetition is the currency of the trap. This is why ancient teachings emphasize awakening, not to escape life, but to see through it. The trap requires your consent. But here's the trick. That consent is manufactured through ignorance. You can't refuse what you don't know exists. And so, the most effective prison is one whose prisoners believe they are free. In the next part, we'll look deeper into the mechanics of this soul harvest. We'll explore how death, karma, and reincarnation are woven into the design, not to elevate the soul, but to bind it, because the system doesn't end with your final breath. In many ways, that's when it begins again. So what happens after death? What becomes of the soul once it exits the body? When the heart is still, the breath is gone, and the body is returned to the soil. The modern mind assumes that death is the end. But the ancient mind, the esoteric mind, knew it was merely a transition. Yet, even in this transition, the trap continues. In many spiritual traditions, particularly in Tibetan Buddhism, Egyptian mysticism, and esoteric Christianity, death is not a moment of freedom. It is a perilous crossing. The Bardo Thodol, often known as the Tibetan Book of the Dead, describes the soul encountering dazzling lights and terrifying visions after death. These are not random hallucinations. They are tests. Some of these lights lead to liberation. Others lure the soul back into the wheel of rebirth. And here's the chilling part. The vast majority choose to return. Why? Because of attachment, guilt, desire, and most importantly, deception. Across countless near-death experiences in ancient texts, a pattern emerges. Souls often encounter a being of light, a judgment scene, or a panoramic life review. but is this divine justice or sophisticated manipulation? Some researchers and mystics believe that the light at the end of the tunnel is not the source, but part of the recycling system, that the life review is designed to trigger guilt, and the offer of reincarnation is cloaked in the illusion of choice. You agree to return, believing you have more to learn, but in truth, you are simply being reset, and thus the harvest continues. Enter karma, one of the most misunderstood spiritual laws. Karma is not punishment. At its core, it's cause and effect, a spiritual echo. But within the trap, karma becomes a contract, a binding agreement used to justify your return. Every unfinished lesson, every unresolved trauma, every soul entanglement becomes a hook, a reason to come back and balance the scales. But the scales are never balanced, are they? Because the system is designed to perpetuate imbalance. Just when you heal one wound, another opens. Just when you find love, you lose it. Just when you awaken, the distractions intensify. It's a rigged game, a loop within loops, powered by your consent, maintained by your ignorance. Let's go deeper. Think of the soul as a battery, luminous, pure, and infinite. But in the human body, that battery is drained slowly, subtly, daily, through trauma, through desire, through the grind of survival. You are taught to trade your energy for validation, status, even safety. And what's left of that energy when you die is harvested, either by forces we do not see, or recycled into yet another life. In esoteric hermeticism, the earth is often described as the lowest realm of vibration, dense, heavy, hypnotic. It is here that the soul forgets its divinity. And it is here that the archons, the Gnostic term for parasitic entities, operate. Their nourishment? Not blood or flesh, but conscious attention, emotional pain, unawakened thought. This doesn't mean Earth is evil. Rather, it means Earth is a school, one hijacked by forces who benefit from your sleep. A spiritual minefield where the lessons are real, but so are the traps. But here's the paradox. The same system that imprisons can also awaken, because each challenge, each deception, each moment of pain carries within it a spark, a crack in the illusion. And through that crack, light can pour in. In the final sections, we'll explore how to find those cracks and widen them, because the key to escaping the soul harvest is to become unharvestable. If Earth is a soul harvesting machine, then the logical question becomes, how do you break free? How do you stop offering your essence to the system and reclaim your own energy? The answer is not to escape the Earth physically, but to escape it vibrationally. The true jailbreak doesn't happen with rebellion or retreat. It happens with awareness. To become unharvestable is to become conscious. Let's begin with the first tool, lucid presence. Awareness is the one thing the system cannot digest. When you become aware of your patterns, your fears, your attachments, your emotional reactions, you begin to sever the energetic pipelines. The lush harvest stops when emotional charge is seen, named, and integrated. This is why shadow work, meditation, and inner stillness are so potent. They don't just calm your mind, they disarm the trap. Each time you respond instead of react, observe instead of absorb, you reclaim soul energy. You're no longer feeding the loop, you're dissolving it. Second, you must detach from false identities. You are not your name. You are not your job, your trauma, your nationality, your political beliefs, or even your spiritual path. All of these are masks, useful perhaps, but only if you can remove them at will. The moment you identify with something, it can be used against you. But the soul that remembers its formlessness becomes untouchable. Practice this. In moment of tension or fear, ask yourself, who is experiencing this? Go deep. Peel back the layers. Let the identity fall away. What remains is the witness, and the witness cannot be harvested. Third, learn the art of energy management. Most souls leak energy constantly through distraction, emotional drama, over-identification, and unconscious habits. The system thrives on automatic behavior. But when you begin to retain your energy by guarding your attention, mastering your emotions, and living intentionally, you start to glow. That glow is not just spiritual fluff. It is soul mass, real, luminous substance. Avoid energy vampires. Cut cords with draining people or environments. Say no to what does not serve your alignment. These small acts add up until the soul becomes sovereign again. Fourth, prepare for death as initiation, not end. If the soul harvest continues after death, then the greatest act of defiance is to exit consciously. Read sacred texts like the Tibetan Book of the Dead or Egyptian rituals. Practice conscious dreaming. Explore astral projection. Learn how to navigate inner realms. And most importantly, set the intention now that when death comes, you will not follow the light blindly. You will pause. You will remember. You will choose, not react. The single decision made in this life can echo across lifetimes. Fifth, anchor yourself in divine memory. Every day, take time to remember what the system wants you to forget, that you are eternal, that you chose to be here, that Earth is not just a prison, but also a place of potential liberation. The trap can be used as a ladder. Each experience is a code. Each challenge is an invitation. Repeat daily. I am a sovereign soul. I do not consent to unconscious recycling. I retain my energy, my memory, my light. This is not a mantra. It is a declaration. Because once you declare your sovereignty, the system begins to lose its grip. And when enough of us awaken, when enough lights are turned on, the harvest ends. Not because we escaped Earth, but because we transformed it. In the next section, we'll weave everything together and leave you with a final thought that may change the way you see every sunrise from this day forward. And so here we are, at the edge of the labyrinth. We followed the ancient threads, uncovered the hidden architecture, and peered into the mechanics of a system designed not to nurture your soul, but to consume it. And yet, in that very recognition, a strange kind of freedom begins to flicker. Because the most profound truth of all is this: you were never truly trapped. The chains were always made of illusion, and illusion only holds power over those who mistake it for reality. Once seen, the bars dissolve. Once questioned, the gate begins to creak open. We've learned that Earth is a sophisticated soul farm, not out of cruelty, but out of function. It feeds on unconscious energy. It recycles the unaware. But within this system lies a sacred opportunity, the chance to remember who and what you really are: a sovereign being, a luminous traveler, an eternal flame flickering beneath layers of dust and doctrine. The purpose of this video was not to make you fear life or death, but to make you see them more clearly, to lift the veil just enough, so you can choose with eyes wide open. Because your choices, how you love, how you suffer, how you wake up, determine whether you are recycled or reborn. And so, I leave you with this question. If this world was built to harvest your soul, what would it look like to live in such a way that nothing and no one could harvest you? Let that question echo in you. Let it shape your meditations, your mornings, your moments of silence. Let it guide you to a new kind of presence, one that's lucid, defiant, luminous. Because the ultimate rebellion is remembering. Remember who you are. Remember why you came. And never again forget what the system would rather you never discover: that you are not food for this world. You are the fire that can burn through it. If you found value in this journey, share it with someone ready to remember too. Like, subscribe, stay awake. The harvest may be real, but so is your power to end it.